Welcome to another edition of Seahawks Forever, powered by BetUS from Mobile, Alabama. And you hear this term every single year down here. Guys making money. Guys making an impression, moving up draft boards from undrafted to day three to day two to day one. That's the ultimate goal, right? Well, today I'm going to give you my list of top 10 performers down here at the Senior Bowl that I think have made themselves some money. Let's go.
Welcome to the Seahawks Forever podcast. In-depth analysis on everything Seahawks. And now, here's your host, Dan Viens.
Running out of time to take advantage of this great opportunity from BetUS. If you sign up for a new account today, they'll give you a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit, 125% on your second and third deposits, up to $2,000. Just over a week remaining before the big game. Check out their current money line and all of their prop bets. Sign up for a new account today. All right, so it's a saying you've heard a lot over the last, couple of decades. It's a cliche. Usually cliches, though, that are well-worn and stick around and stand the test of time are so because they make sense. And guys down here do make more money. They do improve their stock and move up in the draft. This is a first chance for a lot of these GMs and personnel guys to see these players up close, doing drills, being run through a new scheme, playing with new players. How do they adapt to that situation? It's an important part of the process, and that's why they say the draft starts here in Mobile. The game coming up Saturday at Hancock Whitney Stadium on NFL Network, 1:30 Central Time. Before we get into that, though, hit that thumbs up. Really helps the video and the channel. Subscribe to the channel and hit that bell so you always get notified of future episodes. And if you want to support the show in any other way, those links are down in the description as well. Had a lot of fun down here in Mobile this week. Not done yet. The game tomorrow. I'll recap that, of course, and then bring back all of this content and continue to do up-close looks at some of these prospects that have stood out. These have stood out for me the most. My top 10 players down here that I think have improved their draft stock the most. Now, this is based all on one set of parameters and metrics and real deep analytics. These guys right here, my two eyes. These are players that flashed for me, not once, not just one good rep, but several times, kept getting my attention by making plays or just by the way that they move or conduct themselves on the field. Over 130 players here, hard to watch them all intently. Thankfully, the Senior Bowl provides their shot video of all of these drills and all the sessions. I've been downloading that all morning, eating the heck out of my Wi-Fi broadband internet, and I'll be using those as I move forward. But let's get right into that. These are my top 10 moneymakers here at the Senior Bowl. We're going to start right at the top. This name is no surprise. I'm not the first one to think of it. I'm not trying to be original here. Mike Green from Marshall only did the first 2 days, and then he was doing so well and it helped himself so much that he's one of those guys that bowed out of the game. Not going to get into a discussion here today about how I feel about that. But at the end of the day, I don't think scouts are going to not take this guy because he left the Senior Bowl a little bit early. Pretty understandable. The concern about Green coming into this wasn't just the level of competition coming from Marshall. It was length. Is he going to be too small to play edge in some schemes? Measured in at 6'3", 251 pounds. He's got smaller hands. He's got shorter arms, but I don't think any of that matters. 17 sacks last year, 3 forced fumbles. Yeah, last year alone for Marshall, and he showed off those skills down here in Mobile with explosion out of the gate, beating just about every offensive lineman down here who had a chance to go up against him. I know we all saw the viral video of Josh Connerly Jr. getting knocked on his butt. That was timing as much as it was just Green being explosive. Connerly caught with his feet off the ground, but that not an anomaly. That's the word for Green. It is explosive, and he's going to move up potentially into the top 15. If you're eyeing him as a Seahawk fan, he might not be around at 18. Next up, another name that's not going to be any surprise. You've heard me talk about him all week long, but that's kind of why he's on this list, because he didn't have a bad day. Gray Zabel, the offensive lineman out of North Dakota State, that great program up there. He's won 2 national titles as a member of the Bison. 6'5", 316. That weight really helped him. He was listed most of his career at sometimes under 300 pounds, but 305 when he was a senior, and he did play outside with the Bison. Projects inside in the NFL because of 32.5-inch arms, but he did everything well while he was down here this week. He only allowed 4 sacks in his career at NDSU, and the thing about him is, yeah, he made this list, but he might answer it by saying, what money? This guy turned down multiple lucrative NIL offers to go to bigger programs because he was loyal. He wanted to stay at NDSU. He loved it up there. His little brother was going to join the program this year. He wanted to play with him. And he still got a little bit of NIL money from the Bison, from their supporters up there, used it to buy 250 acres, setting himself up for the future. So not only is he tough and physical and stood up against the best that these guys had to offer as far as pass rush goes down here in the individual drills, but he's pretty smart too. Next up, Darius Alexander, defensive tackle from Toledo. And in this day and age, this guy is rare. He spent his entire career at Toledo. He turned down opportunities as well, wanted to stay and finish what he started. 6'3.5", 304 pounds, 23 tackles for loss, 9 sacks in his career. And this guy is all about the motor, always going 100%, intense, great hand usage. He has an advanced set of tools in his pass rush tool belt. This is a guy that would look really, really good on that defensive line next to Byron Murphy and Leonard Williams. Next up, a name I honestly hadn't heard much of before I came to Mobile. I got to give credit where credit is due. Brian Nemhauser, Hawk Blogger, on the show last Friday, brought this guy up as someone that he really wanted to see in Mobile, and for good reason. He has been nothing but consistently good down here the whole week. Really long, 6'7.5", 320 pounds, only 2 sacks given up the last couple of years at Boston College. He just looked the part of NFL left tackle. Yeah, I think he can stay on the left side, but a guy that maybe he could be a swing tackle for. He could play the right side as well. Certainly physical enough to get that done. And staying on the offensive line, obviously that's where a big part of my focus was the first couple of days. Being a Seahawk fan and a Seahawk content creator, of course that's where I'm going to be looking hard. And Miles Frazier was another guy that I just wasn't that familiar with headed into the Senior Bowl. This graphic is incorrect. He is not 234 pounds. He is 334 pounds, all 6'5" of them. Yeah, that would be severely undersized. 39 starts for LSU. Very, very experienced. I call this guy a mauler. Reminds me physically how he's built of Damian Lewis. And even though scouts asked for him to play some tackle on Thursday and he held up well, I think his best position is inside at guard, and I think he's a plug-and-play starter from day one. Now, you might call me a homer for this one, but I swear to you, I tried to be as objective as possible with this. But Kyle Williams just kept flashing. Rep after rep after rep. 5'10", 182 pounds. Looks like a slot-only guy, but played outside at both UNLV and WSU in that air raid spread-type system. Incredibly productive over his 5-year career. 248 catches, averaging 14.5 yards per catch. And he's just a playmaker. Even though last year at WSU with John Mateer throwing him the football, teams game planned for Kyle Williams. He always seemed to come up with the biggest plays in the biggest moments. Really, really sharp in and out of his breaks. Great release from the line of scrimmage. Natural hands catcher. I think this guy is a potential wide receiver 3 in the NFL. You've heard a lot about this tight end class down here in Mobile, and Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland, some of the bigger names that are expected to go at the top of the draft, not even here. But this group is so good that one analyst has called it the best since 2010 all around. And Mason Taylor certainly in the conversation there to get into tight end 3 territory behind Warren and Loveland. 6'5", 250 pounds. The son of Jason Taylor, former Dolphin great on the defensive side of the ball. Of course, very, very consistent over his 3 full-time seasons at LSU. 129 catches, 1,300 yards, 6 touchdowns, and those are pretty evenly distributed. Not ever the number one choice there because of all the talent they have had on the outside and the skill positions there at LSU, but still found time to eat. Just looks natural as a mover. Very, very athletic, catches everything, including a lot of contested catches down here, and seems to hold up well in line also. more than halfway through the list, but I've got some honorable mention guys coming up as well. That's why we're going to take a short break right here. Be right back. Of all the products that have sponsored the show, nobody stands out head and shoulders above the rest like Doer. D-U-E-R, built for doing. My new favorite apparel company. I wear their stretch performance jeans almost every single day, including down here in Mobile. They're that comfortable. 20% stretch, antibacterial, sustainable materials, breathable materials, but they feel tough. They feel built to last, built for doing. That's where the name comes from. You figure that out? They've also got a wide array of joggers and hoodies and moleskin shirts, button-up, soft shirts that you can wear to a formal gathering, or you can just wear when you want to lounge around the house or do something casual. And right now, for being a viewer or a listener of this program, they will give you 20% off your first order. So head on over to shopdoer.com. That's shopdoer, DUER.com/forever, and you'll get 20% off your first order. Back to the list, and a guy that just continued to catch my eye in what is a very, very good edge group down here. Femi Oladejo from UCLA. Cal transfer, played 2 years at Cal, 2 years at UCLA. Former off-ball linebacker, made the switch full-time to edge this year for the Bruins. 240 career tackles, 24 tackles for loss. Traits for days. This guy, he's the guy you want getting off the bus first. I anticipate he's going to do very, very well at the combine. He shows explosion and burst. He can set the edge. And I think he's only going to get better the more he plays the edge position. Another guy you've heard me talk about a lot this week. One of the older prospects, one of those who spent 6 years in college, took full advantage of all the COVID years. But Demetrius Knight II, inside linebacker from South Carolina, is a bit of an anomaly in this linebacker class. You just don't see them built like this anymore. 6'1", 246 pounds. And usually when they are built like this, they can't move well enough to get out and cover the way inside linebackers need to now in the college game, but especially in the pro game with all the spread concepts. But this guy can. He looks the part. He looks like he plays at smaller than 246 in the way he moves his hips and drops into coverage, but not when he's hitting. When he comes forward and plays the run, this guy is a thumper. Looks like a Mike linebacker in the NFL. Now, if you're the Seahawks, do you need a Mike linebacker? If they bring Ernest Jones back, I'm not so sure. And this guy probably is going to be gone in a range before you can get him, thinking he'd be a rotational guy or someone to work in with Jones and Tyrese Knight. But he's a player. And then finally, bunch of good wide receivers down here. They were all fun to watch. A lot of very similar body types, 6'1" to 6'2", very natural movers, guys that can play inside and outside, which bodes well for the Seahawks because I think that's kind of what they're looking for to complement Jackson Smith-Njigba and DK Metcalf. But Jack Besh just kept standing out down here. Not the flashiest guy, not the first guy you notice, but then you keep noticing him over and over and over again. 6'1", 214, believe it or not, when he was recruited to go to LSU, they wanted him to play tight end. Imagine that. Probably would have been an H-back type. They would have tried to add some weight to him. But went to TCU, really had a good 2024, 62 catches, over 1,000 yards, and 9 touchdowns. And he's getting some Puka Nacua comps down here. Now, might not be quite the athlete that Nacua is, but just stylistically looks very similar, a guy that could be really productive at the next level. And then as promised, I couldn't just stop at 10 names. Shoot, I could have gone 30 names deep. So many players down here had really good weeks. And I think that speaks to Jim Nagy and his staff down here of their scouting, their recruiting, getting guys to play here, and then putting those coaching staffs together. Did a really, really nice job of organizing this week and bringing all these guys from different backgrounds together, getting them on the same page. They both really seemed like teams at the end of the week, cheering each other on, a lot of energy and excitement for the game. So here's 4 names I whittled it down to that kept attracting my attention but didn't quite make the top 10. Quincy Riley, cornerback from Louisville. Looks size-wise like a slot guy, but just sticky coverage all week, kept making plays on the ball. Sebastian Castro in a safety group that's not getting a lot of buzz. He's one of the older guys, stayed in college for 6 years. Iowa has produced some really good defensive backs over the years, and he just looks like a guy that looks the part, first of all, nice and thickly built, can cover and come up and hit. Clay Webb, another one of those small school offensive linemen making a name for himself down here, and he was a name coming out of high school. The #1 center recruit in the country, went to Georgia as a 5-star, Didn't get any playing time as a true freshman, transferred to Jacksonville State and spent 4 years there. Played mostly guard, but played some center down here, and some scouts think that might be his best position. Known as an elite pass protector, but I liked what I saw from him in the run game as well. And then I have to talk about a quarterback, right? I mean, I don't think any of the top name quarterbacks really made money. I think Jackson Dart came into this week with potential first-round buzz. I think, the other guys that are down here, in Jalen Milroe, was probably already thought of as maybe a day 2 guy and a project at that. But Tyler Shuck out of Louisville, just every single day made me wonder why in the heck this guy hasn't gotten more attention heading into the game. He's got the perfect frame to play quarterback, kind of an old school throwback frame, 6'5", but he moves really well. He's not one of those big aircraft carrier type quarterbacks. Just real natural thrower, great mechanics. Throws a beautiful ball, accurate the whole week, didn't seem overwhelmed on day 1 like some of the other guys did. And I wouldn't even say he got better throughout the week. He was just that good every single week. And I think he's a guy, he had some injury issues in college. He transferred a couple of times, ended up at Louisville. And I think he's a guy you take on day 3 who could potentially, if given the right opportunity, be a starter in this league. I think maybe even by draft day, he has a chance to overcome some of these other second or third tier quarterbacks when we talk about Will Howard and Quinn Ewers and some of those guys. Maybe get into that day 2 discussion. He's been that good down here in Mobile. That's my list. What do you think about it? Let me know down below in the comments. And by the way, guys, it's been a busy week. Somebody was giving me a little bit of grief yesterday for not responding to the comments as much this week. Got a lot going on. My time here has been stretched pretty thin, even on a day off like this. It's as I record this, it's about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I've been working on this 4 hours, and I still have more to do after this. And with that being said, if you're watching this in time on Friday, check in a little bit later on Friday. Going to do a live Seahawks 7-round mock draft with only Senior Bowl prospects. This is always a fun exercise to do. I'll do another one next week it won't be live. It'll be a produced show that I'll put a lot more thought into and some graphics and video and things like that. But tonight, just kind of for fun, I promised you I'd go live every day while I'm down here, so I think that'd be a cool way to do it. Bryce Coots of the Hawk Zone Rundown and the Pick is in Pod is going to try and join me for that as well. Get your thoughts on what we do there with a 7-round mock draft. Hit that subscribe button. Support the channel any way that you can if you want to support it a little more tangibly. The links for that are down below in the description, and hit that bell button so you always get notified of future episodes. Shout out to BetUS for sponsoring the program. Thanks to all of you for watching and being there with me all week long and engaging in all of this stuff. And for those of you who donated and helped the cause to get me down here, cannot put into words how much I appreciate that. Follow me on Twitter at Seahawks Forever and Blue Sky. Forever and always go Hawks. Thanks for watching.